Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Just want to let you all know that since YouTube censors content on its platform, if you want to see these videos, please do subscribe and hit that bell, as it is the only way to receive videos in your feed. Now, let us begin with an interesting topic that I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about in videos, but today I really wanted to discuss the topic of should drugs or any form of hallucinogens be legalized. Now, this may seem out of nowhere, but this is a real question going on in our societies today with a lot of these young adults, buying into this. Now, the movement is that, this is their words, not mine, we can decide what goes into our bodies. This is once again a side effect of liberal and progressive ideology continuing to be shoved down our throats. Now, I want to take the time, as always, when it comes to these arguments, to look at both sides, because I feel like both sides do have something interesting that they have to say, and they may be right on some aspects. So I like to look at both sides and see what their mentality is. Now, looking at the side that wants things to be legalized, their argument is that since it's their bodies, we should be able to choose what goes into them. I believe this stems from over-legalization of strange things that I really don't feel like mentioning because I don't want to get blacklisted on YouTube or be called a bigot or whatever. But they do have a point in the fact that even though these drugs are harmful, the plants that are generally used to create drugs, such as marijuana and coca, the plant that's used to make cocaine, they can be used for other purposes besides drugs. Now, going over to the next side, which is the side that does not want them legal, they believe that it would only lead to more people being addicted since there wouldn't be any consequences for consumption. The main thing that stops a lot of people today from just outright, being crackheads and potheads and just high all over the place is the fact that there is a consequence to consuming these drugs, which is, time in jail, or outright fines, house arrest, you name it. But they use these countries that are in states of disarray, such as Pakistan, where wars ravage the land, leading to many people to try to escape from their suffering through the use of hallucinogens. And with the mass depression epidemic going on in Western countries, and modernized countries in general, it's not really a surprise to see that if they were in fact legal, a lot of people would 9 times out of 10 use them as forms of escape from their problems rather than actually trying to deal with their problems in a more healthy manner. And even though they're illegal right now, we can see that many people go leaps and bounds to ensure that they get their hands on some form of hallucinogen or some form of drug to escape from suffering, whether it be physical suffering, emotional suffering, or mental suffering. So we can see that both sides here do have some form of some form of an understanding, in the sense that the side that wants it legal truly believes that since we're in a society that, encourages people to make decisions for themselves, air quotes, and since it's their own bodies, that they should decide whether they put what they put in their bodies, whether or not it's considered good or bad for them. As well as the other side, having a very good point, as well as the fact that due to the mass depression epidemic going on in a lot of modernized countries, it's no surprise that these would be like mass acquired as a form of an antidepressant. That's usually the main reason why a lot of people sadly, get into the trap of drugs is usually as an antidepressant. They want to escape from reality, so they do it via hallucinogens. So looking at both arguments presented, I've made my decision about this, and I just want to start off by giving a bit of a lecture in terms of the plants themselves and why I have come to the conclusion that I have come to. Some of these plants used to create the drugs themselves, people, are not actually bad. Studies show that people who consume coca plant, which is the plant used to make cocaine, when they consume it in tea form, such as, taking the leaves and boiling them into a tea, it has given them far more energy, and they have even been seen as indigenous people have been seen chewing on the leaves to act as a natural energizer. Now, as for another plant such as marijuana, it's very easy to grow, and it can be used for a myriad of different things, from using its oils for medical purposes to using it to form paper, which could drastically cut down on the amount of deforestation that is happening across our world right now, due to the fact that it's very easy to harvest and it doesn't take much to grow. So I personally believe that drugs themselves, the drugs, like the marijuana, as smoking it, and the cocaine or the acid or whatever kind of drugs there are out there. There's too many that to name. Before this video would probably be like an hour long just naming drugs. But I personally believe that the drugs themselves shouldn't be legal. But the plants themselves, like the coca plant and the marijuana plant, should be legal, at least for recreational purposes, such as, once again, medicinal purposes or other productive purposes, such as turning it into paper or, tea or something. Now, before a lot of people get their arms crossed and salty, I really want you to hear me out on this. Most people who say that we can choose what goes into our bodies, most people believing this, you're not usually talking about or referring to using these plants for like these purposes that I've just stated. They're talking about using them as drugs, as an escape from whatever pain they're going through in their life. And while yes, I understand it's your body, you have free will, you have the right to choose what goes in your body. I mean, we have millions, if not billions, of people today literally consuming a crap ton of synthetic chemicals, like covering our chips these days, and plenty of people eat that, and so they, say, well, it's our body, so we can choose what goes into it. Now, I'd say that there's a huge difference between something like a chip and something like a drug, as, for example, marijuana. Like, if you're smoking it, the smoke isn't just going to stay in one place, nor will the needles if you're doing cocaine or dope or whatever the heck it is, nor will the dime bags or the acid. And while we are in a world of ever adapting ways to disguise drugs like this, we'd really just be exposing people who don't want anything to do with it to it through their ignorance. I mean, I've recently seen an article, I may link it into the description if I remember, where someone disguised, like, what is it, Sour Patch Kids as drugs. They covered the, like, Sour Patch Kids, the gummy, with the, like, some kind of, like, crystallized hallucinogen, and kids almost consumed them. So if these are in fact legal, like, people aren't just going to be using them for themselves. They'd be selling them still, like, because somehow they think that if we legalize drugs, that would stop people from selling them, but that's just not the case. In fact, they would just make it a lot easier to do it. So, like, we'd be exposing people who want nothing to do with it to the drugs. And I'd say this, like, we can look at smoking, for example, just smoking itself. Smoking is legal, which a lot of people that want drugs legal, like, somehow believe that smoking should be banned, which is kind of interesting to me, but that's beside the point. Like, smoking is legal, and it's our bodies, and it's our choice. Yet, the smoke produced from that exhalation is poisoning our atmosphere and risk giving others around the smoker cancer. So yes, it's your body, it's your choice. I understand that you have free will. I understand that it's your life. I understand that you can make the decisions whether to put something good into your body or something bad. Just like I could be making the decision to drink about a liter of Coca-Cola and consume a crap ton of sugar, which isn't necessarily good for me. Yes, it's my body, it's my choice. I understand where you're coming from with that, but you have to take into consideration, just because it may be your body doesn't mean that what you consume isn't going to have an effect on other people around you. It's just the truth, like, you can't say that someone smoking is only affecting themselves. Like, they're affecting people around them as well. Such is the saying, so are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you guys gave what I said a bit of thought. And do tell me in the comments below, what do you think about this topic? What do you think about this really heated debate going on with our younger generation these days? I say younger as if I'm not a part of it, but whatever they stand for, I'm usually not anyway, so I guess I'm not really a part of it in some ways. But do tell me, folks, what do you want to see in the future on Wake Up People or Random Rant or whatever? Because I've really been getting into some ethical topics, and when I look into things like this, I just really feel like this needs to be said because this isn't really being discussed in lamestream media. So I figure someone might as well discuss it, and I'm happy to do it. As always, rate the video what you think it deserves. Tell me what you would like to see in the future in the comments below. Feel free to check out Amino apps linked in the comments, and I will see all of you in the next one. Take care and wake up.